contrarian, leave it to contrarian badass Reggie Middleton. He called the housing crash. He called the collapse of Bear Stearns and Lehman Brothers and the crisis in the Eurozone banking system. Reggie Middleton.
I've heard that Amazon is their company setup is for revenue maximizing as opposed to profit maximizing. Is that true?
I think their company is set up for growth maximization. They are not looking to maximize profits because they are looking to gain as much market share as possible. Gaining market share can be quantified by revenue. So I guess in a way that could be true. A lot of people have been saying that Amazon has been overpriced since its inception and they only have XYZ profits. But if you take a look at it, especially now over time, Amazon has shown it can generate a lot of revenues. And if it wanted to generate accounting profits, all it has to do is just ratchet down its spending on marketing and R&D, okay, and business development. But apparently they don't. And it's paid off. It goes to show the CEO, Jeff Bezos, knows what he's doing. Amazon started off selling books. Okay, they went from selling books to selling general retail. Amazon is one of the largest, I think, second, third, fourth largest retailer in the world. Their real competition is Walmart. Okay, and now they compete directly with Google. As a matter of fact, not only are they competing with Google, Google and Microsoft and Oracle compete with Amazon. Amazon is the number one outsourced cloud service for institutions. If you don't count, Gmail and everything else, they have AWS, Amazon Web Services. The vast majority of a lot of the Fortune 500 and smaller companies host their web servers on Amazon's cloud. How do they get from selling books to competing and out-competing with Microsoft, Google, and Oracle? It's because they said we're going to focus on growth instead of profits. So in doing that, they said, we started with books. We had a lot of business in books, and then we started selling general retail and everything, and they have a lot of server bandwidth. It was a very big cost to them. Buying these servers, having server administrators monitoring it, and this is a lot of money. And they said, if it costs us a lot of money, it has to cost everybody else a lot of money as well. We already have this infrastructure set up. We already have all the employees set up. Why don't we actually rent our infrastructure and expertise out to others? And they did that, and they did it very profitably. And now they have the largest margin service that Amazon sells, or product that Amazon sells, is AWS, Amazon Web Services. And they're so prominent that they went down, I think a week and a half ago. I don't know if you noticed, but it's very hard to surf many of the websites. About 35 to 40% of the web went down when Amazon went down. So, long story short, if it's not too late, they are maximizing revenue and maximizing market share by pushing out and consistently going to new markets. They're also going in a very low margin market now, which is groceries. But they're doing it by creating a totally automated grocery, which is run by software. And I think 1 or 2 employees for the entire store. You walk in with your phone, you pick up what you want, you walk past the scanner and walk out. Pretty cool considering how many employees are in groceries. Amazon's not the only company that does that. Google does it. Google started off as a search engine. They have 86% of the OS in smartphones. They are now surpassed Microsoft Windows in terms of computer operating systems worldwide. They're the largest advertiser. They are now getting into cars, self-driving cars, all over the place because they are aggressively moving their revenues and business models way past their diversification. Bullish on both.
Do you believe that Amazon stock would be a good long position, assuming that at one point, eventually they should start to look for profits, and that would cause their stock to skyrocket?
Well, they have economic profits. They just reinvest their economic profits back into the business versus considering the profits and paying them out to the shareholders. in a hard growth company, that's what you want. You know, if you are running very, very fast, you have two choices. You can slow down, okay, and take a breath and still get a bronze medal or a silver medal, or you can go top speed and consistently get the gold. That's what Amazon is doing, going top speed. Now, once you've exhausted your reach for business models and you're mature, you are no longer a growth company, but you're now a cash cow company, then it's time for you to take all that money and start paying it out to shareholders. A good example of a company like that would be a company that we talk about a lot. We talked about earlier tonight, who was a growth company, is growing very fast, but is now a cash cow company. Makes phones that a lot of people in New York like. Apple. Apple is now a cash cow company because a lot of their new business ventures are not really panning out that well. Their last profitable business venture was the iPad before Steve Jobs died. The iPad is now slowing because large screen cell phones are taking computer share, tablet share, and everything else. And everything else that they're going into is relatively small growth. So Apple is buying back a massive amount of stocks. They spend more money on stocks than they actually make in terms of growth.